home, we were working really long hours, leaving work really early, having meetings after work, getting home when it was dark, trying to juggle the children's commitments. But
my name's Ryan Simpson. I am a primary teacher from New Zealand.
And I'm his wife, I'm Gabby Simpson, and I'm a primary teacher from New Zealand as well. Well, this is our second time coming to Brunei. The first time we had young children and we were looking for a bit of an adventure and a bit of change. Ryan was working as a chef and working busy nights. So we came for a short contract back in 2014. And then this time we were looking to go overseas again, to take our children on an adventure.
It's turned out that the second time round has been a welcome change. We came to a place where we understood the processes, we understood the environment, we understood part of the culture, we understood things that happened here, and that were obviously different, far different from what we were leaving. But it's a welcoming place. It's a place that you can bring up children safely, and it's a place that you can explore Asia, and it's a place that you can generally live quite happily.
Yeah, and I think the time factor came into it as well, because back home we were working really long hours, leaving work really early, having meetings after work, getting home when it was dark, trying to juggle the children's commitments, and not really having much time for ourselves. So one thing I've wanted to do is some postgraduate study, and I've had a dabble in it over the past kind of 10 years, but each time it just got really hard because I still had a full load of work commitments, and the children needed me, and the house needed to be cleaned, and the study just didn't fit. Whereas we both knew that CfBT very much supports study and professional growth. So that was another carrot for us for choosing CfBT.
There's always anxiety about moving your family overseas. I guess there's always anxiety about if it's going to be successful and working out for everybody. So there's always doubt, but yeah, I think knowing what we knew and having already been a part of the organisation Gabby taught, knowing and doing some research about Brunei and doing some research about maybe some changes that had happened was helpful. But there are always doubts at the back of your mind. There's always hope that you get it right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think I was quite anxious because we sold and gave away things because to store stuff was quite expensive, and you just were hoping and praying, I hope this is okay. Hope we're making the right choice, because change is always a bit scary. There's a bit of anxiety. When you're communicating with CfBT, especially, or we communicated with Farina primarily,
yes.
You do get that reassurance.
I think CfBT tend to have a lot of supports in place, and they actually have more supports in place, more acknowledgement of the transition process than before. Through the induction process, there was a few more boxes ticked that they probably weren't acknowledged so much last time, and so that was quite comforting too.
I think this time, the improvement that was made started before we left home. So we had our interview process, but then if you remember, we spoke to Jennifer and we spoke to Anastasia. We had meetings where we were able to ask any questions that we wanted to, and they would be answered. So before we left, we felt that we'd made connections already with CfBT staff. And then I'll never forget landing in Brunei and walking out into the airport, and Farina was there with her team. So immediately we were kind of put at ease. It was quite easy actually arriving, wasn't it? But when we arrived, we just knew what was going to happen. We were onto the bus, we were taken to temporary housing, we were given an envelope with money so that we had something to live off if we hadn't brought anything ourselves. Got our rental cars and our keys. Yeah.
It was. The organisation that goes into transitioning people is immense. From medical insurance to flights to accommodation, and making sure everyone's catered for is pretty big. So I think what happened this time, not that nothing wasn't similar last time, is that it seemed so much more welcome. You felt like they had everything in hand, eh?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like there was any real stone unturned, and that frequently asked questions session we had with Jennifer, everything was covered. Like
Yes.
you were left and no doubt what you were going to experience.
Yeah.
And should you be, wanting more information, there was always that opportunity for that. But I think they've made a real opportunity, taken a real opportunity to make sure that everyone can assimilate as easy as possible. The accommodation we got put in was really handy. It was quite central. Everything we needed was there. It was quite handy to have food packages and a bundle of stuff arrive to start off with, because it was, essentially know where you're going to get any of those essentials. And so when I forgot about it and when it turned up, it was like, yes, you don't have to worry about that. And simple things like SIM cards and things that you need to start with, you need to have access to communication, and I think that those kind of things have been really streamlined. Like, it didn't happen before, but it was like they've a bit more experience, a bit more knowledge post-COVID. Kind of they've taken a few things into account, and it was just it was seamless. Really. It was pretty intense. It was a lot of information, as you can expect, in a relatively short space of time. But it wasn't like it was full days every day. There was downtime. There were times where we were able to kind of just talk together as a group without any planned or structured session going on. It was a pretty cool bus trip that we got to do on a Sunday morning that familiarised us even with some of the things that we hadn't seen before and didn't know where they were. And I think that familiarity makes it a lot easier for staff that have never been here before.
Yeah, I think the sessions about the culture of Brunei is quite might be different from your home culture was quite important. Do I think the best thing about the induction was the time that we got to have in our school before we started teaching. So we got a lot of time to go in and spend some time planning and to be in the environment and to feel it out before we were in front of the children teaching. And I think the other thing that's worth mentioning is the mentoring.
Yes, very much.
Everyone gets a mentor when they come to CfBT, and our mentors have been amazing.
We're lucky enough to get really long-term staff, long-term people who have been here a while and have kind of experienced a lot that they can pass on, and not just classroom stuff or teacher practice. It's just living in Brunei and the experiences that you might come across and the things that you might not be familiar with until they actually happen, and then people to ask that kind of can guide you through. But
also when you are asked to do some assessment, they're the people that you can contact and be like, do you have a copy of this resource? And they'll be more than happy to flick it through and talk you through how to do things properly.
Yes, yeah.
I think that's worth mentioning, is that I don't think any question here has been a silly question, has it? Everyone, whenever we've needed to find something out, the response has been that's a good question and we've found an answer. We've never felt silly for asking anything.
No, but I think the environment encourages people to be a bit more accommodating of everybody who's new, because they've all been there. And the things that they find challenging have been challenges for everybody. And so people are a little bit more kind of understanding and welcoming of new people, because they want people to succeed. Like CfBT has a vested interest in making this work. And so I think everybody, even socially as well, there is a welcoming kind of feel about working as a CfBT teacher. Then once you've made some connections, you make other connections with other teachers of maybe the international schools or people in other environments that you wouldn't necessarily have come in contact with if it wasn't for people that you've met. So it is quite a connected expatriate community that looks out for each other, really, I think.
Yeah, I think we've got an exciting job. I think this time, with both of us working, I do feel like our job is meaningful, and I think CfBT sees it as a meaningful job, and we do feel that we have got an important role in our schools, and that energy is put into us succeeding. This year we're working on instructional coaching, and so far the PD's been, I've really enjoyed it. And there is so much available through CfBT to upskill and get better at your craft. We really feel like CfBT are on our side, we've employed you, but we want to help you grow as well.
Absolutely.
Lots of avenues for where you can take your career. So it's quite an exciting place to be as a teacher. Yeah.
Keep your eye on the reasons why you you've come to Brunei, whether it's to further your career or whether it's to, change of lifestyle or a change of pace in life, and just be open, just remember those things.
And I think seek the commonality. The commonalities with your colleagues, with your Bruneian colleagues, don't focus on the things that are different, and you probably find that your colleagues will seek their commonality with you too. So for me, coming in, a lot of the talk in the kitchen when we're sharing food together is about family and what our children are doing.
Sometimes the little conversations about food, about restaurants, and I've had conversations about the difference in culture, and I find that Bruneians are very open to sharing.
Yeah.
Like lots of people about their own culture, really open to sharing about.
And
asking and wanting information out of us. And
I think advice-wise, just go with the flow and everything will be okay. But there have been hiccups along the way that we've, come across, and every time we're like, it will work out. So just
generally.
Just
everyone's got their
relax.
best interests at heart.
Trust the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.